Hey everyone, I'm going to talk about gut flora and your body composition. So before we go into how the gut flora affects your body composition, it's important to understand the concept of insulin sensitivity. So to make that concept really easy, you want to think about insulin sensitivity as the ability for tissues and cells in your body to uptake glucose. So when you do eat carbohydrates, that carbohydrate glucose has to go somewhere, and it can go into one of three places. So one is your skeletal muscle, second place is your liver, and if those two guys are filled, guess what? It's going into fat cells. So that's one of the biggest problems with obesity, is people are just eating too many carbohydrates, too much processed foods, and it overflows into their fat cells. So that's why we have people that are over 600 pounds. So with insulin sensitivity, if we take, for example, your skeletal muscle, one of the primary places your body stores carbohydrates, is that when you do eat carbohydrates, insulin goes up, it's a hormone, and it takes that glucose and it stores it within your muscle tissue. Now that's dependent on the state of your skeletal muscle. So if you do exercise on a regular basis, you go cycling or swimming, or you like to weightlift, you deplete that glucose within the muscle tissue. So you can think of your muscle tissues as a sponge. So if your muscle tissues are full of carbohydrates, it's like a sponge that's full of water. So as you exercise and you use up the carbohydrate within the muscle tissue, that's like squeezing the sponge out with the water. So that's a carbohydrate basically used in your muscle tissue. So now when you do that, it's sort of like your muscles are like a dry sponge. And so when you add water to a dry sponge, it soaks it up. And in the case of your skeletal muscle, when you train and exercise and you do eat carbohydrates, they're very sensitive to the insulin bringing the carbohydrate in. And that essentially is what insulin sensitivity is. And you want to have high insulin sensitivity because that has a number of numerous benefits. One, you build muscle mass over the long haul, which increases your metabolic engine, which helps you burn body fat. And then the other part of it is that you're storing carbohydrates you do eat into muscle cells and not into fat cells. So part of the process is not storing the carbohydrates you do eat into the fat cells. And so this is where the gut flora comes into play, is that the gut flora helps produce biotin. And we know biotin is important for your hair, your nails, your skin, etc. But it's also important for insulin sensitivity within your cells. But unfortunately, if you take antibiotics for whatever reason, you have a medical procedure, or you got sick, or some people take it for acne and they take it long term for many months at a time. Well, when you take the antibiotics, that completely wipes out the biotin production, because you're wiping out a lot of your gut flora when you take the antibiotics. So that in the long term can affect your insulin sensitivity. So if you've been taking antibiotics for a long period of time and you're wondering, okay, why am I having a difficult time losing body fat, or you're even gaining body fat, we have to start looking at your gut flora and getting those guys healthy again. So in the grand scheme of things, this will have a factor in you maintaining your body composition or losing body fat over the long term. Until next time, eat well to feel well.